A quick note at the beginning of this episode, we'd like to thank those who had to wait a little bit for us to get this episode out. It's been a busy week this past week for both Joe and I, so thank you for your patience. And a second note, in this audio, we got the opportunity to have a surprise guest come on, but there was no real smooth transition. So please bear with the audio as we go from seeing the surprise guest and bring him on to the audio. So with that, enjoy the episode.
Good evening, everybody, and welcome back to the Aviation RC-Do podcast. My name is Joe.
And my name is Matt.
And I caught Matt off guard firing off like that.
Yeah, he wanted to. You tricky.
I was trying.
Well, what episode is it? This is episode, 68, isn't it?
68.
Happy Leatherversary.
Leatherversary.
Yeah. If we were married, this would be where we get each other leather goods.
There's a
third anniversary.
There's
right? Third?
leather
It's our
goods.
third year, right?
Well, okay.
So-
We're going to end up having what is this leather goods anniversary? Hang on.
Go take a look.
3-year marriage anniversary gift.
Yeah. Why did you miss it?
Leather. Huh.
Yeah.
Look at that.
Yeah. And unfortunately, I'm not a leather worker. So other than getting you a belt, I really couldn't think of anything good. Those RC related.
Yeah.
I was thinking about getting you a camera strap
Nice.
for your deal.
I mean, I actually do a bit of leather working, so we'll talk. Anyway,
Well, we know
intro botched. This is our 3-year podcast anniversary.
No, I think this is perfect because I think this is how this episode will be.
You just completely threw me with the leatherversary. I was like, what?
What in the world is that? Yeah, that's what I
Yeah, and
meant.
then you said that's what you get people. And I was like,
Oh.
what dark hole is this going down? Okay.
Look, I didn't make it up. Some weird people about weddings did that a long time ago.
Yeah, but they're talking about like anything leather. So it could be wallets or little
yeah.
leather picture holders or
Again,
keychain
I was
things.
thinking
Yeah.
either a key fob thing or again, I was trying to find a really good neck strap that'd be perfect for the controllers because that would be really nice. You know what I
That'd
mean?
be cool.
Yeah. So nothing says that it's not maybe in our future, but here's to you, buddy. Happy Leatherversary.
Happy leatherversary. You know what? I mean, I've got the leather that's long enough. I think I've still got a whole side of a calf.
Jeez.
Oh, I bought like 2 halves.
Nice. Yeah,
way back.
Yeah, because you want to be able to use it for who knows what. I mean, I know you do live action role play stuff, so making your own
Right,
costume is part of that.
Yep. And so I could easily cut off some strips, and then I just have to think about. But another idea I had, just us talking for leather goods.
Oh, yeah.
If we somehow took our podcast logo and embossed it,
Ooh.
I could then 3D print it and use that as a leather stamp.
Oh.
So with stamping leather, you wet the leather, you
Yeah.
have whatever stamp with the shape, and it can be a textured stamp depending on
Right.
how shallow you can go, and you
Mm.
stamp it into the leather, and then you got the
Yeah. We need,
podcast logo.
oh. We can make coasters.
Eh.
You're like, I don't know about that. But no,
Uh.
that'll be whatever. Look, I think that's great. What about hiring a 3D printer to center print a metal 3D embossing thing? Do you think that would hold
What?
up?
What do you mean?
With the laser sintering process, where they take aluminum and aluminum powder and they basically sinter and they basically 3D print layer by layer and build up a metal that actually built rockets with this process. And they can make metal 3D printed stuff. It's genuinely basically laser welded.
I don't know anything about that.
Oh my God. Well, I'll have to look and see how much it is.
But PLA can handle it.
Okay. I'll trust
PLA
you.
can handle it.
Yeah, easy.
And depending on the detail we needed, I do have 0.2 millimeter nozzles.
Okay.
So,
yeah, me too.
Right instead of the 0.4. Anyway.
No. This is perfect. It's perfect.
Anyway.
Good. Okay, we'll see where that goes.
Before we dive into, yes, this is our 3-year anniversary as a podcast, and we've already gone off the rails, so sorry about that, guys. But before we go off the rails any further, we want to take a few minutes, thank our community, the guys that have been with us, short term, long term. Some of you guys have been with us since episode 1.
Yeah, we really appreciate that.
Power to you guys, because I couldn't stand listening to episode 1 again.
Oh, come on. When I listened back to it not too long ago, it wasn't bad. It's our start. It's our start.
Everybody's first couple episodes are rough.
They're not as clean and polished as we got them to, but same point. Then we're doing this episode.
You're implying we're clean and polished now.
Well, compared to where we were.
Well, okay.
You're like,
anyway,
that's a tall order, sir.
And our patrons who have continued to support us monetarily.
Thank you, each and every one of you. We really appreciate it. It helps keep the things running and some of the stuff paid for, so that we can just relax and enjoy doing this from week to week. Mm-hmm. And it really kind of inspires us to keep coming at it every chance we can.
It just makes it nice that this part of the hobby is not the drain. Does that make sense?
Mm-hmm. Absolutely.
Keeping the lights on. So thank you for that.
Yeah, very much.
And just because we don't plug it much, but since we're on this general area, we do have a merch shop over at Teespring. Just search Aviation RC Noob at Teespring. I don't have the link right off, but
it will be in the show notes for sure.
It'll be in the show notes, and we do have some merch. It's not a ton. We just kind of threw a couple items together, but if you want to wear some swag or support us in that direction,
get a shirt or a mug to drink your favorite beverage out of, and I think we have something like a hat or something like that.
I know we were trying to do your whatever hat style that is that you wear, but that's just
Indiana Jones style is what I'll call it.
No, that's not like a sand version of Indiana Jones.
Hey, look, that's all I got.
It's like a fishing cap, but like full brim.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's a scout cap is what it is. I bought it in the Boy Scout camp.
You're right. Yeah. Now that I think about it.
Yeah.
All right. God, I feel like there was something I was going to look for on my side screen.
I don't know. So this episode, we're going to talk about not necessarily what we've done in the past, because we did that, but we are going to compare what we said we were going to do last year to what we accomplished in the podcast.
Oh, boy.
And then we're going to set goals for ourselves for this coming podcast talk about, it'll be great. We'll just write it down and we'll laugh at it next year when we don't do any of those things either.
When we fail horribly at that.
Well, let's just say we took a different direction as it came up. And I think that's a lot of what happened this year, and that's okay. Hopefully you've been coming along the ride and you've enjoyed it along with us. I know I've been enjoying it as we go. It's been a lot of fun. So I'm looking forward to see what we do this year. I think this year is probably our goals are going to recap a lot of what we said last year.
What we didn't do last year.
Yeah, pretty much, which is like, I think we're actually getting to it finally. And I think that's what a lot of this year might be, but I'm really curious to see what we end up doing at the end of this year for sure. If we make it that far, I'm sure we will. And then we, talk about who we want to talk to, and more importantly, part of what we do here, obviously the goal of this podcast is to bring in new guys and help them keep in, get started, and then all of us who've been in it a while give you something to kind of go, oh yeah, I remember all that stuff, and just a reason to kind of get back out and do it again. And so with that vein, I would love to hear who you would like us to talk to in this coming year or topics. I've already put out a poll, and I'll do it again in a little while. Just trying to understand what you would prefer to hear more about as we go forward. I know our niche has tended to be Dollar Tree foam board because I'll call it the beginner material. It's like the perfect beginner material. It doesn't cost much. It's easy to get something that you can toss. You don't even need a motor to make success happen. And for a short bit more, you can actually get into the air and learn the hobby without breaking your bank. So it is our go-to for sure. But with that being said, as we progress in the hobby, and you know, part of it is about the new aspects of the hobby. And so as we move into those new aspects, we would definitely want to document it. And we've heard a lot of people who are very curious to hear what it ends up being like when we get into it, because they're pretty curious. So with that, you had a question when we just started, right before we hit record.
I did?
Yeah, you did. It was about something that arrived.
Oh, I was going to save that until we got to an appropriate section of the episode. But yes, Matthew, did you get a package today?
Why, yes. Oh, yes, Joe, I did. It was amazing. I was excited. It's a small, square, long package marked for me. And I think one was sent to you, and it was marked from our good friends over at the RC Playing Labs. It was from Ron.
It was. I pulled up and thought for sure my wife had ordered something else. And I was like, what is that on my front porch? And then it turned out it had my name on it. I said, oh, I must have ordered something.
Right. And then you looked at who it's from and went, wait a second.
I went, what? What are they sending? Because I picked it up and I shook it. I'm like, what did I order that is so lightweight?
Oh my God.
It's okay. It wasn't too brittle in there.
Probably not. I heard super glue fixes it right back up like it's new.
So behind me, and I was really surprised at the size of this thing, is this how they do?
Yeah.
Good Lord. I'm glad to figure out. So we apparently,
this is really perfectly timed, by the way, as we talk about what avenues we're going to go down in the coming year.
And what we failed to do in the past year. Right. So I assume you got the Electro Streak as well.
Yes. So we talked about last time that Ron and Tom are putting together kind of a build event, as it were. Like they said, you know, everybody, here's the plans. If you want, build them on your own, cut them out. He has a laser cutter or laser, and he was able to cut out some short kits. He's like very short kits. But
so I read the letter. Sorry, Ron, I'm just going to let that fall on the floor for a moment.
Well, he's watching. You know that. He's watching you.
No, he's not even in here. What's in this pack, I think, are more about wing formers and like their jig settings. If you don't have the wing a jig.
Yeah, he's got this amazing like multi-tool that sets up all your ribs at exactly the right angle, and you just set them in the right spot, and they keep them there. And so the rest of the world doesn't have that. So he's like, you know, I should probably print like I'll call it the counterpart, so that you can basically set those up on your table and then set the ribs up on top of them so it sets them properly for your wing. And then you can build your wing without having to worry about a tilt. I know the Prindle D little wing has something very similar. So you can kind of keep the twist and set it on a flat table. And if you listen to one of their last podcasts within the last month, they cover that in pretty good detail. And even maybe a month and a half ago, they really do go into great detail. So, Joe, if you haven't listened to their podcast recently, make sure to earmark January and December and go back and listen to those so that you can hear more about the Electrostreak and what gets involved. I look at the power system. It's effectively B or CPAC. I think primarily CPAC would work good.
Really?
Yeah. And that's why I was like, okay, Ron, do us both
Oh,
a
that
favor.
makes sense. Electro Streak.
Yeah, well, yeah, but at the same point, not everybody's going electric. So, like their buddy Dave has got some highfalutin crazy power source, so he's having a good time with that. Anyway, so the point is when I looked at that, I said, well, I know Joe has that motor system. So, Ron, are you still able to hook a brother?
So you reached out to, okay.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, I
Okay.
reached out to Ron. I said, hey, is it possible that you could cut us a couple of kits? I know it's a little late. I know you're probably done. He's like, no, you know what? For you guys, maybe. I'll just review. Maybe. No, I'm just kidding. He was really pleasant about it, and he was like, "Oh, absolutely, that'd be great." I'm really eager to see what Joe and you guys put together when you try it up. I'm eager to hear what issues and fun you have as you go along. So he was happy to cut us out something. I don't know if he'll be able to do it for anybody else anymore. He said he was pretty much done the last podcast I heard, so he was doing us a special favor, I think. But the whole goal is, I think by the end of May, I think is when their goal is to kind of have the project wrapped up. I know. Well, I don't know if that's going to be us, but even if we started we built a wing by then, it would probably be good. As I understand, according to, Jesse, who we talk to pretty frequently, he's built a number. He goes, they go together a little bit slower than balsa or a little bit slower than foam, but not by much. They actually come together pretty fast. He goes, the actual frame is good. There's a lot of extra work that you need to do before you cover, and it feels like a real plane. But you can really get the frame together and the skeleton done pretty quickly. Thankfully for medium, what is that? Medium viscosity CA and a kicker.
Okay.
So
actually, I have some CA and kicker now. Largely for the 3D printing.
Perfect. So it looks like you're set for balsa as well. Nice.
Oh, I also have wood glue right up here on top of my shelf.
Well,
so I'm really good to go.
What does Tom call that?
Aliphatic resin.
Aliphatic resin. He loves saying that.
He does.
I kind of like hearing him say it.
I like saying it too.
Yeah, it's almost like olifants.
No.
Okay.
Well, since we're talking about things that got had for nothing, I assume.
No.
Happy
Leatherversary, sir.
Oh, did you pay me for that? Or
yeah, I took care of it.
Okay, well, thank you.
Ron probably would have done it anyway, but I told him, don't you dare. I said, this is my gift to Joe.
Well, thank you.
I said, I can't find any leather stuff.
Thank you, Ron.
Yeah. Yeah, you can thank Ron for cutting it out, because that was a big special ask, and I appreciate it. So thank you, Ron.
Yep, thank you, Ron. And while we're talking about gifts, things that can be had, I assume this is for everybody because I'm not logged in, and I don't know how long it'll last, but Eclipse and Airplanes has released a gull, I think. It's O with 2 dots over it. But it's basically the Go 1 Wolf 3D printed. I got an email about that this evening while I was doing some stuff. So 1.2 meter wingspan, 4-channel glider kind of thing. So those plans are for free. So
I'm adding
interest in
right now.
Right now, yeah.
As
so if you had an interest and just didn't want to spend it on plans, there's a free plane for you from Eclipson.
Excellent. Thank you. Thanks for letting everybody know. It looks like a really good, just standard glider, as it were.
Yeah. So there's a little bit of history on the page when you open it up. It was I think a German spy glider, and so this was their electric adapted version.
It looks like a Minimoa without the gull wing.
Could be. I don't know.
Yeah.
Oh, this is their motorized version of the vintage Gulpingen Go, or however that
easy. I was gonna say easy for you to say.
Yeah, Gulpingen Go 1 Wolf.
Okay.
Model single-seater glider produced in Germany from 1935. So
Nice.
go check that out if you're interested. Now, why don't we get into the meat and potatoes of this thing?
Downloading at this minute as we speak.
You couldn't wait? I hadn't even put it in my cart, and I'm the one that knew about it.
It's already there. Done.
Jeez.
Excellent.
Killing
me. All right. Okay, so let's talk about, usually we talk about what we did this past week in our adventures in RC aircraft, but why don't we talk about, before we do it, let's talk about what we did as a podcast over this last year. And then we'll talk about what we've done, to you and I, this last couple weeks. And then we'll go into what we want to do in the podcast going forward.
Okay.
And it's more not like what did we do this last year? It's more like last year this time.
We said
we were going to do certain things. And I listened to the episode and I wrote these all down.
I'm seeing a lot of red on this list.
Yeah. And then I color coded them to see like what we managed to do and what we didn't. And then, so let's talk about them. Like last year we said we wanted to start releasing episodes consistently. Like we had a lot of like,
to continue to do so. Yeah.
Yeah. And so I think this year we did really well with that goal.
We had a couple of interrupts here and there.
Yeah.
We're playing just, and you know what? If we had 2 or 3 of those out the year where something got pushed back a week, I'm not too angry about it.
Right, but what we generally kept schedule, and we were able to let people know in a timely way. Like we weren't able to get it, but we would have it at the next week, and we followed up with that and kept to it. So the fact that we kept everybody informed and aware of what we were doing as we were going about it, I think was a big goal hit on that.
Mm-hmm.
So yeah, good. Go us. Hold on, wait. Let me pat me on the back. There we go. That's for you too, Joe.
Appreciate that.
We said that we continue doing the history stuff and continue doing build events. And I think we've
been doing history segments for over a year now.
I know. Can you believe that?
Jeez.
I mean, short of a couple episodes, I think we hit, and those were mostly because they were interviews. And we knew that they were going to be interviews that take up the whole time. And even then, some of the interviews, we still did a history.
We need to go back and update that spreadsheet of the planes we have done.
Yes. Yeah, because it's going to be harder to remember what we did.
Yeah, that list is getting kind of populated. And then continuing with build events. So we probably averaged what? Almost one a month. I'd have to look back. But we kept them going pretty steady. And that's an easy one to have accomplished because we enjoy doing that. Not we enjoy doing all this, but the build nights are easy to fire off and just say, hey, we're going to do this thing. Look who it is.
Oh, speak of the devil and he shall appear. Hi, Ron. Oh,
hey,
wait,
Ron.
He can't.
He can. He's a guest.
Oh.
No, here we go.
Can you talk to us, Ron?
Now he can.
Okay. Well, if he wants to, he's in as a listener right now. So we'll continue, but we want to say hello because we were just talking about you just a bit ago.
And if you don't pop in, we'll just cut that segment out.
Thank you, by the way, very much.
But you can unmute if you want.
All right.
And yes, thank you very much for it. We both got it in the mail.
Very good. So we continued our history and I think we were consistent with the build events. I think we weren't as good about notifications maybe ahead of time as we could have been. I'm not really as excellent at those kind of things as some people are. So I'm but we did that, and I think we did it pretty consistently, and I think we've had a pretty steady audience with that, and I appreciate it. I hope everybody who came out had a good time.
Yeah, and we said we wanted to go to Flight Fest 22, which we did, and Jesse came along with us, and that's an easy one to check off the box because why wouldn't you go?
I know, right? That was so worth it. Let's see, do more with the website, and I would have to say that that's a soft win. What do you think, Joe?
I saw somewhat because you did like I know you were working on doing some article stuff,
Mm-hmm.
but I know you ran into problems actually getting it posted and dealing with everything. And
Yeah.
we just haven't sat down to go over for me to show you how to work with all that. But
We did
you
some of
have
that.
been working on content.
Yeah, I have been working on some content, and I just have not been. Most of the projects that are the content going to be released have not quite finished, but boy, they are really, really, really close. I think the Puri is actually. I just finished the flight video, the maiden video, and that'll be in the segment coming up here. And I think that's the finishing touch on that article that I was kind of putting together for a website. And then the Leprechaun, I still haven't finished because I got the servers in, but I never installed them in the tailpiece. And I think that's about it. And then I just need to double check everything's going the right direction. So I'll find a nice day for that. Lately, it's been pretty rainy and cruddy, actually. It's very unconditionally northeast weather here in North Carolina.
A little bit. We've been catching some rain recently, which is why I haven't been able to get out flying. I'll use that excuse.
Sure.
All right, so moving into planes that we were
Like,
wanting to do.
next segment.
Moving on.
Speaking of that, okay, so there were 3 planes that we said we are going to do next year.
I had 2.
Okay, I said I was going to have 3 planes. Okay. So I said I would do the Balsa Cuda or build a Balsa Marabou, which is the Marabou is that kind of twisted wing, kind of like the Prandtl D. And I built it out of foam and it was excellent, but I was going to build it out of balsa and I did not do that. Either of those. The Cuda would have been great as a kit. And then I also said that I would finish the Spruce Goose. And the Spruce Goose never got pulled out of the dark corner that it's sitting in currently. It's not a dark corner, but it is definitely in the, I look at it every day when I go to work. I sit at my desk, I look off to the right, and there it is, sitting there with all 8 beautiful motors, all ready to go one of these times. And then Giants, that's really hard to read.
No, I'm trying to tell Ron to try to unmute again because he's got
you can do the
proper
chat
server.
The chat window on the side should be able to get to him.
He's on his phone.
All right, fair enough.
He's on his phone, and so he's not going to be able to easily access that chat window.
And the last and third window. Bye.
It was good to see you, Ron. Thanks for coming by.
Good. Yeah, thanks, buddy.
I'll call you soon.
Excellent. So that was really cool. That's awesome that he could come on, almost like right on cue, right?
Right. We were just talking about all that.
Very unplanned. Anyway, so I was gonna build a giant scale bird. That was the big other thing, and so I ended up building the Leprechaun, or my version of it, and that is, like I said, almost completely done. And this year, I managed to get that done, and I don't have it as bright green, but I have it pretty close because that's. I also built what was the other one that was a giant scale bird that I put together? That was pretty close. Oh, the SR-72. I classify that as a giant bird.
Yeah, it might be.
Yeah, because being a jet, they classify the dimensions a little differently.
I will pause this one more time. Now you're unmuted, Ron.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Hey, Ron.
Because I gave you the permissions after you joined the channel. It didn't update that you had the proper permissions. So I moved you out and brought you back in. I remember that. And I was like, oh, right. I gave him the permissions after he got in.
Well, hey there, buddy. No, it was perfect.
You're good.
We were talking about the packages we had received, both of us today. Joe was like, did you receive a package today? I'm like, I was going to ask you the same thing, Joe. Yeah, and I want to say big thanks to you. I really appreciate you putting that together. I know you guys were pretty much, I don't know if you had officially closed up shop, but I knew you were looking to kind of close up shop on that whole thing so that you could concentrate on your build. of the electrostreak. Well, all right. Well, I appreciate that. That's awesome. No, seriously, and it really kind of came at a good time. Buildery is starting this coming month here.
Okay.
And it's granted, I don't know that I'll put the electrostreak in that pile, but I might just because that would be ridiculous. That fits very well with that challenge. It's a foam board build challenge typically. And everybody's like, can I build a balsa? I'm like, dude, if you want to try to build a balsa, if you want to try to build balsa amidst a bunch of foam in 1 month and fly it, go to it. But the challenge is 4 planes, build and fly 4 of them in 1 month.
It will definitely take you more than a week to do the electro streak, especially if you're not used to doing anything with balsa.
Yeah,
especially if you don't have any balsa on hand yet.
Oh, that's a big thing too. Yeah.
And like a million other things.
What, Joe?
They're going to end up totaling my car, so I'm about to pick up maybe a bigger vehicle payment.
Ouch.
Yeah, I think I'm going to take this opportunity to get back into a truck. So let's see what happens there.
Back into a money pit.
Trucks are nice, but my gosh, every mile you drive is so expensive.
Yeah. You just take $1 and throw it out the window every couple
months. I got
months.
a company fuel card. What are you talking about?
Oh, well, in that case.
Well, that's a whole different
right?
Well.
Nice.
Yeah. Well, we'll see, you know, but part of the reason why I looked at the power source. I'm like, well, that's a standard flight test, like large scale build. Like that's the same motor that we put on most of the planes we have. I'm like, I know Joe's got a couple of those. So.
Oh yeah. I mean, it's nothing huge when it comes to balsa. It's going to be a small build to begin with. If it's one that you're thinking about actually doing. Mm-hmm. Dave already has his finished. I just saw on Discord. That's actually what got me on Discord and kicked over to see you guys. He just posted pictures in our Discord of the electro streak and his finished build.
Nice.
So he is way ahead of me. Like I said, I'm a month away from starting easily with all the other stuff I'm doing. But if you haven't, like I said, I just think that's a good one to start with, but maybe not if you're trying to get 4 planes out in 1 month.
No, well, so I always do this, and everybody's like, I think I'm cool. I'm like, look, I don't want to start because I don't want to fail. And I'm like, dude, do you know how many people actually make it to the end? Almost like 5, maybe. Build 4 planes, let alone fly them. And we're talking minuscule amount. But like the fun is pick out 4 planes. Get started on 4 planes. If you get a couple finished, sweet. You've got a couple planes and a bunch on the way. You're ready to get started with your build season so that you can be ready to fly when it's time. That's what.
Yeah, that's not a failure. That's a win. Have an extra airplane.
Tell me about it. Well, so but in people's mind, I set out to do a challenge and I'm going to win it. And the winning is when I build 4 and fly them in a month. I'm like, you're
nah. The winning is if you have anything extra to fly before or than what you started with.
So we had one guy one year. He built awesome. He built 13 planes in 1 month.
My gosh.
Yeah, it was impressive. I was like, you are the hands down winner. I don't think anybody even comes close. They're like, oh, I can't even try. And I'm like, dude, it's not about winning the thing. Like, it's a plan set. Like, you're not, come on. Like, if you need a plan set that bad, just call me. I'll hook you up. Like, it's, come on. I said, but if, it's more just the camaraderie and the getting together and building and talking about what you're doing and cheering each other on. Because some people take on very ambitious stuff. What I find is fun is people take on ambitious ideas in the beginning and then they turn in the middle and punt to like, I'm going to build a flat plate plane, I'm going to build a pizza box plane, and that kind of stuff. And you're like,
those are fun too. There's nothing wrong with it.
No, there isn't. But it was just, they're like, oh, crud, I'm never going to make it. I'm going to do something that's quick and easy. And they still manage to, they do that or they don't. And the point is it's a lot of fun to, again, be part of the community that's doing this ridiculous, like this insane, unnecessary pressure for what? for fun. That's all it is for fun. And so
Ab-
when people come in with that spirit, though, it's a good time. And that's usually why I do that. I keep doing the event. I've been doing it for 5 years, 6 years.
At least, yeah.
I think 18 was when I started.
Yeah, and so much of this hobby is just the people that you interact with, the people you meet, the people that you inspire, the people that inspire you. I mean, there's just so
Yeah.
much that goes into it that's more than just building planes. And that's one thing I like
Yeah.
about it too. And having the community and trying to build as many as you can. Like, I still think
So
there's no way to
ridiculous.
lose as long as you have something to show for it.
Right. Even if you don't, if you just go like, look at this mess I made. And then you go like, nice. You just cheer them on. And that's part of why it's like it's out of foam board. Like you're not out any big amount of money. If you throw it in the air and it literally lawn darts and crashes into pieces, you had a laugh. You had some fun building it. You did it with some people who you had fun talking to along the way. Like that's what it's. And that's part of when I saw your Electro Street build, and you guys were making like almost like a build challenge or a build event together with it. Like I was like, dude, that's awesome. And that's something I don't see a lot of balsa builders really seeming to do. Not that often. And I'm like, that's what we need more of.
And that was just a completely out of the left field idea. And I'm gonna be honest, there's a lot more people that took to that than I expected.
Yeah. So how many people do you have sign up? Because that is I know you did get a lot of response from what I could tell. Like just the way you guys were talking, you didn't put any numbers to it, but you're like, that's a lot more than I expected.
So
and
honestly,
and the whole thing has a lot of people, going back and forth and talking about it. I'm really excited for you.
well, I know of several people that are building that didn't get anything from us. Because obviously it's a build challenge. You don't have to have the short kit from me. It was just kind of one of the things where I knew I was going to be cutting them for us, so why not offer that to other people? We ended up doing about 30 kits that we shipped out to all people. And
nice.
I know of several others that are doing, like there's a guy in Australia that's doing it that has his own laser cutter that cut his own stuff. Tony, Flying Tiger Tony, he's doing his out of foam.
Yeah.
And there's several other people that have reached out that, we haven't met until this build session kind of thing that we hadn't heard from before.
So it really brings out some of the community.
It's cool to meet more people because of that. So yeah, I'm excited for what it's going to bring, and I'm kind of excited to see what next year's build is going to be.
Is that Tom he put lights in his? Is he lighting up the interior of the fully sheeted balsa wing?
He is.
That looks so beautiful, by the way.
He's got about, I think, 15 and a half feet just in the wings on his Electro Streak. 15 and a half feet, sorry, of LEDs.
Good Lord.
And it's like a yard wide. Like it's 1.5 meters maybe. So it's not like this massive wing or anything, right? Like
I should know, but I don't remember right offhand what this wingspan is on it, or what the wingspan is. But it's not big at all. I mean, it's 42 inches maybe, give or take.
Yeah. I sent you a picture, Joe, and your link there. It's either way. Just I'm like, wow, that looks so beautiful.
Yeah.
What good work?
Well, right? that looks really good.
Yeah, see, the woodworker in me says, "Oh yeah, that's so nice."
He ended up fully sheeting his wing because he's going to be going a little more. He's not going as fast as Dave is with his, but he's going to go kind of like in the Goldilocks story. He's kind of the mama bear of it, to where it's going to be not as fast as Dave's, but not as slow as mine. So he needs a little bit more support on the wing. So yeah, he ended up fully sheeting it, but wasn't quite sure what to do with the lights, and kind of figured out that with 16th inch balsa, you can get some light to shine through if you put enough behind it.
Right. It looks good though. I'm excited for him.
Except oddly enough, we found out too, and I was very surprised. Black monocoat, ultra coat, whatever you want to call it, I guess. Ultra coat, because monocoat's going away. But anyway, black, you cannot see any light through that whatsoever. I did not know it was so opaque. I figured it still had some translucency to it, but it sure didn't.
I guess not. So here's as a noob, don't cover your plane in black if you want light to shine through it.
Absolutely.
It's a perfect
White is
silhouetting
the
material,
best
though.
way to go.
Yeah. Yeah. And what I found is using the packing tape. If you're using packing tape, color packing tape, that's also really translucent. So you can kind of, if you cut shapes and stuff out of that, you can use that as kind of a stencil cover. You can also use the translucent monocoat stuff too, right? To kind of
Yeah.
make patterns and stuff over top of the white if you wanted.
Yeah, the translucent absolutely will shine light through
Yeah,
it. And
that's good
you
stuff.
have to watch what you're putting on, whether or not you want to see light through it or not. You don't have to have the plane completely lit up in order to see it at night. So
Right. Yeah, you
yeah,
just need enough to orient what direction it's going. Otherwise, you'll be in trouble.
yeah.
Oh,
So I don't
nice.
know if you guys had heard or not, but the reason we're doing this, I'll do it really quick. I don't want to take up all your time.
No
But
worries.
anyway, so last year, when we went to the Toledo swap meet, I found a plane called the Shiny. And it was
Yeah.
one that I did not necessarily care for at first, but it was a good price and it was different enough to kind of pique my interest. So I bought it and we came home and it was one that was lit. Flightwork is the company that made it, and it was from the factory made to be a night flyer. And that was our first
Yeah.
actual night flying airplane. And I mean, like, I fell in love with it after we flew it at night. It's so bright. I mean, it's a really cool airplane. And night flying, if you haven't tried it yet, it's its own beast and it's a lot of fun, but can be scary because it's sometimes hard to tell exactly where you are.
I
Uh,
posted
but
a picture of the shiny in the chat there on the side.
That is shiny.
it is very shiny. But
Well
long
lit.
story
It's
short,
very
that
shiny.
plane is no longer made. Tommy wanted one, and we looked high and low everywhere to try and find him something. Couldn't find that airplane for him, and Terry Dunn actually reached out and said that
Mhm.
the Electro Streak looks a lot like the Shiny, like it was a precursor to what they came about or what they designed the Shiny off of. So
Mhm.
that is kind of what precipitated this whole build
Nice.
process and why we're doing this one.
Terry
And
Dunn
hopefully,
is a wealth of knowledge when it comes to antique planes.
oh, Terry Dunn is awesome. Yeah,
Yeah, he's a good guy.
agreed.
That's just funny.
No argument here.
Yeah, anyway, so without going down that tangent, I'm like, do we squirrel there? No, wait.
No.
No, we have
Well,
other things to do.
he's building an Electro Streak too, so I don't know if you knew that, but yeah.
I haven't seen him in the forums yet, but I did hear him mention it on his podcast, the RC Roundtable guys. I don't know if anybody else is taking up that challenge or not. Lee.
You guys keep chatting. I'm gonna go grab a drink.
All right. I was gonna say Lee and Fitz would probably be good candidates to do that too.
Yeah, I'm not going to say who bought and who didn't, or who has the kit and who doesn't. But
it's like outing celebrities. Don't do that.
Yeah, well, Terry's not the only one.
I'm sure he's not. I'm looking forward to kind of seeing who else is part of the community. But really, I mean, that's a very active channel. I enjoy getting. I'm really looking forward to getting to the point where I'm posting, what I'm working on or how I'm looking to finish it off when I get there.
Yeah.
Yeah. And I have not done any night. I've got a couple planes I'm setting up for night flying, but all of which are at that stage where I'm like, do I throw it in the area? Like, oh, I got to finish the one thing. Like I built a full-size Leprechaun out of foam board, which is part of my test. It was like the preemptive test for when I do the Ford Trimotor, right? Because it's got a 100-inch or I think 100-inch wingspan, the Leprechaun. And I did it all up,
small. I said that's so small.
It's out of foam board.
I know. I'm just kidding.
The thing is, I literally have like two, maybe 18-inch pieces of carbon fiber in the center to join them together, and that's it.
Oh my.
Yeah. So I mean, it's almost completely foam, and I covered it with monocoat or ultra coat or whatever it is now, like you said, and I lit it up from inside, and I have a multicolor string in the front, and I have a couple like directional lights at the wingtips. And I think generally white down the main fuse, so I can kind of get a handle on that stuff. So I'm really just I'm finishing off the tail servo and making that connection, and trying to figure out how in the world am I going to bring the pieces all together without having to fall apart in the air. Because it's a pretty big beast, and there's enough load with when I put the battery in there and the motor, it'll be pretty hefty. So I want to make sure I'm not gonna just like have the fuselage just fall off the bottom of the plane or something. You know? But I mean, as it is, it stands from floor to almost ceiling. I've got 9-foot ceiling, so it's like scraping up near the top.
That's huge.
Yeah, but it's lit up so I can do it at night. Because I know me, I'm gonna take it out there right about dusk, because that's about the time I get, and I'm like, oh, I'm gonna fly this.
Least amount of wind.
Right. And then I'm going to send it up, and it's a glider. So I'm going to turn off the motor. I'm going to have 5,000 amp hour battery, and it's going to be or 5,000 milliamp hour battery. And I'll be up there for days. I'll be able to fly for probably like an hour.
Oh yeah.
And I'll be like, oh, it's getting dark. I better turn the lights on. So that's part of the reason why I did that. So I'm kind of eager to see. Yeah, obviously I'm going to try it with the lights on lower and closer without getting way up there. But I do want to see how that flies. It seems like it'd be a lot of fun. Just, I imagine the trick is don't crash.
Well, right? That's the goal usually.
No, not with foam planes. I'm just kidding. Not with my foam planes. Maybe that's more appropriate. No, but I imagine if you crash, so it's a lot harder to find your parts. For sure. Bring a strong light with you. And a lot of patience.
You have a strong light built into the airplane, so it shouldn't be that bad.
Unless the battery goes flying.
Well, that's true.
Yeah, but it's it's a good point. You can use your plane as a flashlight to go around the field. That's nice.
Actually, cool. We did that with the Shiny the first time we were out there. We just kind of held that up to make sure we didn't miss any parts before we left the field, because we don't have power at our field.
Right.
So we use that as a flashlight just to make sure we didn't lose any screws out.
Yeah. Yeah, that's good. I think a lot of people, that's most places, because most fields, they don't, nobody flies at night unless it's a special event.
Yeah.
So that's
we need
cool.
to make a thing and fly more at night because it's enjoyable.
I meant to ask you a question. Are you guys going to, because one of the things we're going to talk about later, and while I have you here, are you guys, I thought I heard talk about you and maybe some other podcasters going to Joe Knoll. Is that true? Because that's right around the corner for us.
I was actually going to ask you guys how close that was to you. Yeah, Tommy and I are planning on going.
Joe can roll out of his backyard and fall into it. It's double
Woodruff.
Yeah, Woodruff, South Carolina.
South Carolina, yeah.
It's like 2 hours from you. You literally, it's probably the backyard from where you work.
Right outside of Columbia.
Yeah, you work right there.
Yeah, I was gonna if you guys were anywhere near that, because that's huge.
It's like 4 hours from me, but that's an easy weekend trip. Happy to do it. I'm trying. What I'm trying to do is get my kids at least interested enough where they'll have fun going.
All right, that's farther away than I gave it credit for.
Yeah, it's in the middle of nowhere.
That's almost up by my old office, but that's still.
We have an 11.5-hour drive, I think, from our house.
Yeah, that's
good. You'll have the advantage for Flight Fest when it's not quite so far a drive, and we have to drive a long way.
Yeah, I need to look into that one too. But I think this is going to be kind of the same thing. And once again, plans are kind of not settled yet, but our goal is to actually be there for a week. We're going to rent a camper.
Oh wow!
We'll be leaving if we can. We'll leave here Saturday. Get there Saturday and then come back on the following Sunday. So a week and a day later.
All right. Well, I think I heard that at least Fitz and Lee are going to scoot over from the RC Roundtable.
Are they?
That's what I thought. I thought I remember hearing them talk about that. And I know you guys, I heard it on your podcast too, but I think yeah, we got to go. And they were trying to get Terry down to come and join. It's like, there's got to be people from your area who are going. Just hop in with them. Like, come on.
Did I missed that? Yeah, Joe Knoll. Is it Joe Knoll you're talking about, not Perry, right?
I thought it was Joe Knoll.
Oh, that'd be awesome if they went to Joe Knoll.
Yeah, I think I'll just have to reach out to them and ask, see what they're thinking. But my thought is we live so close. I at least need to go for that weekend, whatever that weekend is. I usually end up having so much like, my kids are in the middle of scouts and there's always so much stuff going on at about that time of year. They're at the end of school. Everything's trying to end. All the sports are trying to finish up, you know, and, we're trying to, at our house, we transfer from one house to the other at that point at the end of the
Yeah.
school year. So we're in the midst of all that. So I've been like, I need to go. Like, it's right here. I want to at least see what it's about.
Oh, it is huge. I mean, like it's from what I've heard, it's one of those things where when you go, you will never not want to go back. So
Really?
yeah, I've talked to a couple people that have been, and pretty much that's their main vacation for the year, is just going there
Mhm.
and spending a week in a camper and with nothing but airplanes. So the
It must be a balsa equivalent to like Flight Fest.
Yeah.
it's not just balsa, it's pretty much
It's
everything.
everything. It's everything, including full scale somewhat. It's an actual airfield, an active airfield.
Yeah, I think so, but I don't think
I think they
there's gonna
closed
be
it
much
down for the week,
scale
but
stuff at that. Yeah, for the Joe Nolman.
yeah.
But yeah, you've got your foamies, and there's different flight lines. There's 3D flight line. There's I think
Yeah, there's
like a
there's giant scale, there's the regular, there's
yeah,
3D that goes over the lake. There's foamies, and then there's a helicopter end.
and then they
As
have a turbine area, I think too.
Oh yeah, they might. Yeah, because you got to worry about catching stuff on fire.
I
Legitimately
guess
having
that's
that
within
stuff
it.
catching. Yeah, but yeah,
But
it's
yeah, so I hear it's huge. We're trying to figure out what planes to take, what we're gonna be able to fit, and Tommy wants to take my golf cart so we have a way of getting around, because apparently this
yeah,
place is like 400 acres.
yeah, it's huge.
Yeah.
From what
Good
I can
Lord.
tell from it's a full size airport. I
Yeah,
mean,
that
like
makes
it's a
sense,
low.
though.
It's like I mean, it's not like a giant runway kind of place, but it's like a grass runway, well kept, and has been that way for a long while, and it's well known. They have other events there too for other things. Yeah, so we were looking at just like what events do you think, if we're as far as our community is concerned, and what kind of things we might do. We definitely are going to make a trek to Flight Fest 23 this year. I think Joe and all being so close, I think one of us will at least try to attend, if not both of us,
That would
depending
be
on what we can work out. And I'd love it if we all get a chance to go. We need to have just a podcasters roundtable for a second and just shoot the stuff.
It's gonna be nuts.
It's gonna be
Yeah,
nuts. Yeah, it'd be
that would
ridiculous.
be that'd be a
I definitely
blast.
want to get out to an air show. Um, Definitely, I know there's one coming up in a couple months.
Like
I got to get more details on that in our
full
area.
size.
Yeah, full size air show. I wanted to kind of capture that because I mean,
Well,
if
there's
you are an RC enthusiast and you haven't been to one, I want to talk about what it means to go to one. I haven't been to one since she's like 14 or something. It's been forever.
yeah. Well, they have
Oh,
AirVenture coming up. I don't know if you ever have thought about going to that in Wisconsin.
well, that's quite the trek. I have absolutely, but I only have so much vacation time at this point. Until I
Yeah,
get a plane where I can make the commute a much quicker thing. Um, I mean, obviously, AirVenture, it's not a quick commute thing. You go in and you're there, and then when it's done, you leave.
yeah.
That's kind of what I got the impression of. Um, but yeah, and then doing local fly-ins and talking about what and actually going to a couple and recording what goes on. Just kind of have both of us kind of see what's in our area and see about maybe attending one or something like that. Just kind of because we haven't done any of that kind of stuff. We have talked about Flight Fest because we've been to it and we've enjoyed it. And if you haven't been, I hope you guys can make it out because it is a lot of fun. They say, was it bring the friends you love and the planes you don't? Because the
Yeah.
planes probably won't survive. So bring the ones you don't mind leaving there. Take out the electronics, bring them home, leave the plane. It's
And how
okay.
long is that?
It's like a long weekend, usually
Oh, is that
Thursday, Friday, Saturday, Sunday.
Yeah, people start coming in Wednesday night, evening,
Yeah. And then, I mean,
and
unless you're
Thursday
helping set
morning it
up,
kicks off.
unless you're helping set up a bunch of stuff, in which case you might be allowed to come in much earlier. But yeah, it's a beautiful place out in the hills of, no, it's not Texas. The hills of Ohio, out near
So
Pittsburgh.
Melbourne.
Mhm.
how close do you guys know how close you are to like Toledo, Ohio? Because there's the
Probably
Toledo
about
show.
probably about 8 hours. I think we took it's a 10-hour trip to the eastern half of Ohio. It probably won't be much different to go to anywhere else in Ohio. To be honest. I mean, for us, it's like going up through West Virginia and you just split left or right, and it pretty much gets you anywhere in Ohio within that same time.
Yeah, I think because we're going to the Toledo show again this year too, the swap meet.
Yeah, so what's the deal with the swap? So Joe and I have never been to a swap meet, any of us,
Oh
and I don't
my
even know
God, are you serious?
where do you find swap meets that have RC stuff?
Well, a lot of times clubs, like look at if you guys have the AMA magazine or anything like that, or even get on their
Yeah.
website, they list different things that are going on. Non-flying events is what you'll want to look up. A lot of times they'll tell you swap meets and all that kind of stuff. But swap meets are like you never know what you're going to find, and they're usually really, really, really good prices. And that's, I mean, it's just if you like flea markets or anything like that, this is like a flea market for RC airplanes. And I will go to as many of them as that are close enough for me to get to. Because like I said, you just never know what airplane you're going to find. Last time I went to the one in Decatur, which was really close. It's only about 25-ish minutes from my house. They do theirs every, I think it's right around Thanksgiving, every year around Thanksgiving. But anyway, that's where I found the E-flite F-18. And I mean, that's an expensive plane to begin with. But this plane doesn't look like it had ever been flown, maybe once or twice. I mean, there's no like hangar rash, nothing on it. Everything was ready, had everything in it, $100, ready to fly.
Oh, wow. Yes, please.
So, exactly. You just gotta try and.
So dangerous.
I know, that's the problem. I mean, like last time.
I hear you guys are like, okay, I promise I'll come back with less planes than I brought in. And you come back with like 6 more planes. And you're like, I tried really hard.
I failed already. Like I was wanting to get rid of planes this year, but I keep going through each one. And I'm like, no, I like you. No, I don't. You don't. So,
I know.
I think this is probably going to be another year where it's an expansion year, and we'll see what we end up with. You never know.
N+1.
N+1, baby.
Or N+2 or 3 or 4, whatever the trip may be. But no, seriously, if you've never been to a swap meet, you guys have to go to a swap meet just to see what it's like. Because
if it was on the tail end of Flight Fest, we could probably pull that off. So Flight Fest is was it like 9 hours out, and Toledo is 10.5, and it's about like looks like hour and a half in between.
That's kind of pushing it for Toledo, I think, what it's worth.
Yeah. Now, if I could fly there, that's a good excuse to go flying somewhere. When I get to that point.
Then the problem is you don't have a lot of room to bring airplanes back with you.
Oh no! Come on now, they break down pretty quick. They're lightweight.
They're very lightweight. But when we came home last time,
hang them back on strings.
When we came back last time, Tommy has his medium-sized SUV, is kind of what I would call it. And I mean, literally, you could not see out the side windows or the back window. We had that thing so stuffed. It was.
Joe's shaking his head. He's like, "That's what Flight Fest was."
Yeah. So then there you go. But you come home with all these treasures that, you don't know exactly what you ended up buying. Some are winners, some are losers. You got to realize you don't know what you're buying, so you might not be getting the best thing, but. It gives you something to work on, something to do, and they're just a bunch of fun. You never know what you're going to find.
That's perfect. That sounds like a lot of fun. So I think one of the things maybe Joe and I'll be able to find a swap meet somewhere between us, and we'll maybe see if we can get to it. I think that's probably the best we can hope for. I don't know that we can make it to Toledo and Flight Fest and Joe Knoll. That'll be pretty tough in 1 year, but maybe.
I think my wife would kill me if I was gone that much.
That might be
or she might celebrate. I don't know.
Or you can get her in the hobby and she comes with you, and it's a great time for everybody. I don't think that's going to happen.
Look.
You never know.
It was Tom's wife.
Go on.
Tom's wife started, right?
Yeah, she put an ARF together. I don't think she's too much into wanting to learn to fly or anything, but she's put her own ARF together now, so she knows the the gist of how everything goes together. And one of the last times we went out to the field and Piper flew her airplane, Crystal ended up taking the sticks over and doing a little bit of flying on hers. So we're kind of getting them into it, but it's Crystal is more one that likes to go there just to be around people, but not actually be part of the hobby, if that makes sense.
Mm-hmm.
I get it. Yeah.
She likes talking to people. She likes being around people, but she doesn't like the flying aspect of it yet.
Yeah. Well, look, it's not for everybody. Like genuinely, it's not everybody's cup of tea.
Yeah.
So we'll see where everything goes, That's cool. That's awesome. So we were just covering this episode that we're doing is our kind of what are we going to do? And we were just testing out like, what do we say we were going to do versus what we managed to
and how did we actually
meet up
do?
with?
Yeah.
And that's always entertaining, right?
Yeah. It never turns out the same way, does it?
No. Joe, what about your builds? So you had a couple builds you claimed I'm getting done this year.
Oh, are we diving back into it?
I'd see if we can maybe at least get through this part.
Okay. Well, then let me ask Ron real quick.
Okay, yeah, please.
Because I went ahead and brought Craig in here just because we've been talking so much. Do you have any problem with us including you in the conversations we've had, or do you want me to pull that out and just skip over you having been here?
You're talking to me?
Yes.
Yeah, you. Your name is Ron, right?
About Craig, and I got confused. I'm sorry.
No. We're calling you Craig from here
Craig's
on
the
out.
bot.
Oh, Craig's the bot. No, I don't care. That's fine. Whatever you guys want to do, I wasn't planning on crashing your party, but it's up to whatever you guys
crashed it. You did, so mission successful.
Yeah, we're happy to have you crash it. It's it's good. Like I'm glad we got a chance to say, hey, thanks again. Means a lot.
Yeah. Well, crash the party anytime.
Yeah.
To answer Matt's question, though, I had 2 builds that were supposed to happen, although I did want to start tapping into balsa and gas.
Mm-hmm.
And balsa and gas did not happen.
Yeah, for both of us. We both claimed that.
So the Nubatros did happen. That was part of Sam's HRC build off. It did happen. It did get built. It did fly. And then it promptly went into a tree and broke its wing spar, like the internal structure. So I never revisited it, but it did happen.
He could have fixed it.
I did not build the goblin. I completely forgot about the goblin.
No.
And balsa just ended up not being a thing because this year was concerning once we got going into it.
Yeah.
I lost my career and had to switch. You ended up losing yours and switching, so I guess it just wasn't the year for that.
No, consistency was not our friend this year. And that's okay. No, it's all right. But it definitely kind of put us on a pause for certain things. We're like, well, let's hold off on that part and we'll move on to something different that we already have stuff for. Because heaven knows we all have, like, we could die or we could have no more money and just build for years and still not run out of stuff.
Mm-hmm.
I'm pretty sure. Ron, you've got enough for how many years?
I don't even want to count.
That's okay. You don't have to admit.
What's your number?
Too many. I've lost count.
I know, right?
Matt, you said you wanted to release episode audio to YouTube, and I said that's entirely in your boat.
Did, and that boat sunk.
Mm-hmm. So how did that go for you?
Well, it filled with water, and I didn't even bother paddling. I just put the oars right across the top, made sure we didn't tip over into the water. That's about it. It's still in the dream stage, and it's not out of the realm of possibility. But if I do it, I need to do it like this coming month and start
you
it.
You say it's in the dream phase. I say it's in the realm of pipe dream.
Whoa. Easy. It might be. I don't know. We'll see. I do want to do it. I just, I haven't sat down and done that first audio and just blown through that first and just see what it all takes. It's probably way simpler than I'm putting my head to it, In my head, I'm blowing
Mhm.
it out of proportion, and it's probably like, oh, it's too much. And I'm like, no, it's literally, it's just dropping it into the thing, putting what I wanted on, and be done.
Well, how about pictures with episodes posts?
We were supposed to do that. So I
I'm
don't think
trying
that
to
happened.
remember.
I think it was more just like making sure that there was something like to put pictures on our website that went with the episodes, that we can say, you know, episode 68, we talked about these things. Here's the build that Joe was talking about. Here's the one that Matt was talking about. Here's the plane that we were talked about in the history or something like that.
So we'll include all those links, but we've done that before. So this must have been we'll go back after the fact to the website.
Yeah, that's what I'm talking about, the website.
Okay, well then that didn't happen.
No, that's why it's red. That's why it's red. And then we had pivot to balsa and gas and nitro, and that's also bright red because that didn't happen at all. Other than I bought balsa to make a balsa plane, but other than that, that's about as far as I got. We talked about 3D printing a plane, and it's like a 50-50. Like I 3D printed one a while back.
Did you?
Yeah, but I didn't finish it all the way. The fuselage didn't print right. And then I just gave up. I got distracted.
And then your firmware went bork.
I don't know what happened. Yeah, there's a bunch of stuff that happened. So I just sort of abandoned ship on that. I wasn't really pleased with kind of how it had a lot more bumps in it. It wasn't as smooth as the wood pattern as yours had. Mine had all a bunch of junk in it.
And I finally showed it to you, and you thought I was crazy.
Well,
I feel like
crazy.
You still think I'm crazy.
No.
Because I can only catch a bit of a glare with the webcam.
I see it. I see it there. I see it. I
don't think it's wood grain.
I hesitate to say yes, definitely. However,
hold on.
In his defense, it looks amazingly like wood grain, no matter what it is, whether it be like layering. But you print it vertically, right?
Yeah.
Like the part prints vertically, so it is got to be a wood grain.
Yeah. Well, Ron, what's your opinion?
I can't see anything, so I have no opinion.
Oh,
what do you mean?
You're both frozen on my phone.
Oh man, don't close your eyes, Ron.
Don't close your eyes. I can show you the world.
Well, it's been fun, guys. I gotta get off. You're gonna start singing.
Oh
no. So yeah, I've been doing some 3D printing and ran into some snags along the way, quite a few.
Mm-hmm.
But I think I've been letting it sit. Really, I haven't been printing anything, but I did get some successful prints. So next episode, perhaps, I was thinking it was going to be this one, but then you reminded me we have this episode. Yeah, hopefully next episode, the episode after that, I do want to talk dedicated 3D printing for an episode.
That sounds like a good plan. Yeah.
Go ahead.
No, I was going to say, maybe I'll print while I'm out of town. I'll send it.
Yeah, that'll, kind of go through, we can talk about the things that we've talked about for the struggles, but then sort of what I've been learning in diagnosing my issues and things that I have to make sure are right. Now, the guys that have been printing and are printing successfully, they know this stuff, but
if you're
I
new,
didn't know it.
I want to talk about how is it you get past the hurdle of, boy, that didn't work. Where do I go from here?
And we still got to get yours up and running again.
Yeah, absolutely. Like I said, after I go, I've got to go visit a client site for a week. And then when I come back, we can dive into that pretty hard.
Next up, we said we wanted. What's that?
Yeah.
So 3D printers are just so finicky. Like, that's the one thing I don't like about them.
Well,
they are
and they're not.
Once you get them running well, I think there's less problems. It's getting your machine tuned. And then it's like any well-tuned machine. As it starts to drift, you pay attention to your quality and your stuff, and as it starts to drift, then you take corrective actions to, I'm starting to see this problem. I know it's going to lead to this, so I need to clean it, or I need to maintain it in this way to kind of bring that back in line.
Yeah, but the problem is sometimes you don't see the issue come up until you're 30 hours into a print. and you're just SOL and have to start over again.
Listen, as a guy who fired off a 28-hour print and had it stop halfway through, which was basically the beginning of my working day. So I just left for work when it failed. I had it printing 3 large parts that were going to take a little over a day. They successfully printed 2, and then it printed most of another piece. Well, you can't see, but it printed most of another piece, and then it managed to detach itself from the bed. It was like 90% complete, that part, and it knocked itself off the bed.
Womp womp.
So, yeah, then I had spaghetti noodles hanging.
That's-
I get it.
Yeah. Have you guys tried any of the resin printers yet?
No, they look amazing, and they also look expensive.
Well, I just got one.
No.
So I know who to call for miniatures. Go for it.
Oh, not yet. I mean, this is what I'm talking about. When you think you have one set up well, and there's just always some sort of gremlin that comes up. Like I figured with the resin, the way it builds, the way it works is so different than the FDM printer that all the problems that I was having with my FDM printer, I figured was going to be eliminated. Those were eliminated, but now there's new problems that I didn't even think I would have to worry about. It's so you were talking about one of your prints came off the build plate, and that was one of the things I had problems with mine too, is the adhesion to it. But it's a complete opposite problem now that I'm having with this with the resin printer, because the adhesion of the build plate on that is so good. I literally break pieces trying to get them off, even when they're printed solid. So there's always something that just seems like goes wrong. Last time I did that, like I said, I had a print fail on it because it, well, I guess the print didn't fail, but I broke it when I took it off. And then I left the resin in the vat because I was talking to a guy at work that has one. He said you can leave the resin in there if you're going to print within a week or so, and it doesn't give me any issues.
Right.
So I did that, and then I realized I had a hole in my I think FEP sheet or FEP sheet, whatever you call on the bottom. When I took that off the next time, yeah, there was resin all on the screen. And apparently it had cured on there too. So that is where I am right now, trying to figure that out.
Oh, man.
Oh, no.
You're just having a time of it.
I know. But it prints, like the prints that come off of that are amazing.
So what did you...
The level of detail.
What did you aim... Like, what was your goal for that printer? Like, what did you want it to do for you?
Honestly,
or your daughter.
No, I can't even blame it on her. No, honestly, my end goal is to be able to 3D scan like our own faces and heads to put in airplanes.
Make custom pilots.
Yep.
Nice.
So that's the end goal that I'm nowhere near, because now we have to figure out how to scan and all that kind of stuff. But I got to fix the printer first.
I can tell you how to do that. There's phone apps for that.
Not that I found that work well. Like Tommy's wife has one of the new iPhones that has whatever sensors on it you're supposed to be able to scan yourself with.
Yeah.
It looks pretty good, but it's not great. I don't know how
you're going to shrink it down.
I know, but it still looks not all that great on there. I mean, if there's apps that actually work, that would be cool.
I won't say that.
If you know of something, I would be happy to talk offline. We can get into it or whatever, and you can let me know what to try. But I just have not found anything that's been decent yet.
I'll see if I can look up what I'd seen a video or two on 3D people scanning, because I was wanting to 3D scan myself for 3D printing armor for LARP. I was toying around with like an Iron Man type suit. So
yeah, like a personally fitted one.
Right. And I would basically import myself into Blender and then build the armor around myself.
Yeah.
But that would take so much printing on a 200 by 200.
Yeah, you think a day is bad, you're going to be in there for a month.
3 weeks later.
Yeah. 3 years later, jeez.
Well, you know what? Look, you figure it out as you go.
Especially with the
What's that?
Especially with the failures.
That's right. Jeez. Well, moving off of failures for a minute, a success was we had a podcast crossover, at least one.
Yeah, we
this
had
past year.
I'm trying to think. No, I guess technically, Mr. Dunn was not this year.
No, I think he was the year prior.
Right.
Like
so yeah, but we did
tail end
have a crossover though.
Yeah, and this makes 2 crossovers in a year.
Yeah, I know.
So,
right? Well, same
thank you,
crossover. I
Ron.
mean, does that even count if it's the same?
Yes.
Okay.
I mean, I'm not in my recording gear. I'm in my pajamas. I wasn't planning on doing this. So that, I don't know. If you want to count, that's cool, but it's fun nonetheless.
It is.
We're trying to boost our stats. It counts.
Oh.
And look, and we also talked to YouTubers Lee Schofield and John Woodfield. So, I mean, I don't know if they count towards the crossovers, but in my thought, we were pretty close. But I was thinking more like, if we talk to some of the other different podcasts that roll through the RC circles, just kind of let people know, even some of the ones that are kind of adjacent, or the aviation podcast or something like that, or a 3D printing podcast that could help us understand what the heck we're doing wrong. That might be pretty helpful.
Yeah, might not be bad.
No, I've got a couple on my list. I think I might reach out to.
We talked about doing gliding. I finally got my Simple Sword built up, and I've got a 3D printed glider that I will eventually print. You were looking at slope gliding specifically.
Yeah, and I think I did.
You manage to get into that?
I think I did like a day. Admittedly, it was not much, but I did. I think I did try it. I did not get to DLG stuff. No discus launch stuff for me. We never did go through that build.
And that's crazy because was that discus launch?
Yeah, DLGs. I have not done that yet. Gliding is awesome, but I have not gotten into DLG stuff, and I would like to try one. But they're so expensive.
Yeah, I heard getting used is the way to get in if you're looking for the bigger stuff or the more official stuff. But there's ways to build cheap and give it a try. Foam board. There's a couple foam board versions that are really inexpensive.
I've still got the DLG.
Yeah, you do.
That you printed off when I first got into the hobby.
Yeah. We both need to build that. That needs to be an ARCN build. For us.
It could be a you and me build.
Yeah, that's what I mean.
Yeah.
Are we not ARCN? Are we not the Aviation RC Noob podcast?
Yes, I just didn't want to make it sound like it was
for everybody,
community
for
build. Like everybody was, because we already got one of those going.
We could extend it, but yeah, it'd be us.
Come on, guys! I want one.
We could. We might be able to work something
one
out.
of us ever design something. I don't think you want the Nubatros kit.
No, I mean for the DLG you guys are talking about.
Yeah, it's the Nerd Nick DLG. That's what I printed out. I will send you a link. I'll send you a link. It'll be easy enough. Yeah.
That's not one we'd be able to produce, but the plans are out there.
Yeah, the plans are out there. We can send a link to it, and everybody can give it a try on their own. I think the one for structural capacity, he uses overhead film, overhead transparencies to create a strength across the wing, and just a carbon fiber rod for the basic strength elements. Because I mean, you're putting a lot of torque on that stuff.
Mm-hmm.
If you don't figure it out and plan it out, you will rip that thing to pieces. Well, that's entertaining. It's only entertaining once. If you get it working right, you can get entertained a lot. So.
Well, but if you have it on video, you can watch it more. So.
If you go to my last, I posted something very recently. If you go to the last post I made as Foamy DM, you will be entertained for sure by the end of it. I promise you.
Which one was that?
It's a Puri. Yeah. It's
I hadn't seen that.
Foamy Puri. Go watch. It's ridiculous. Hey, Joe, how'd that listener survey come? We talked about that at the beginning of the year.
I don't know what you're talking about. Yeah. That one that even Ron said, "Hey Joe, you should definitely do that thing." Yeah, I never did it.
Yeah. Hey Ron, thanks for egging him on. I appreciate you trying to help.
I actually think I might have said just copy ours.
Yeah, I think you did. You
Yeah,
said
and
it's
I said
okay.
I don't want to do that.
We did a lot of research. I think our survey's at least decent to get you started. And Joe's like, yeah, we'll do our. It'll be great.
I also don't do well with criticism, so I don't want to hear the bad stuff.
Oh, that's okay. You know what?
As long as it's constructive, I enjoy having some criticism to know what is wrong and what can be improved.
Even if it isn't, you just draw a little troll around it and then you move on.
I'm just worried somebody's going to call out the truth and tell me I have a face for radio. And then they're just really going to hurt my feelings.
Joe, I say that all the time and you say it back to me. It's okay. It's out of love.
Yeah, but it's you and me.
Oh, okay. Fair enough.
I guess I won't say anything.
I appreciate it.
Thanks, Ron. You're a real buddy. I appreciate it.
I do what I can.
Repel.
I did do a survey just recently out on Facebook, and I think it was only out there for like 5 seconds. I don't even know how long it was out there for. But just kind of asking what people wanted to see this coming year from us. And it looks like 30% of the people that answered the survey said they wanted to see foam. They wanted to hear us talk more about foam. 20% wanted us to talk more about balsa. Talk about, I think the next one behind it was more community involvement and what our community is doing. And then I think right behind that was events, products and vendors, and some FPV regulations, because that's going to be a persistent thing. And then I think behind that was history segments.
Yeah, I was a little hurt to see history segment so low, but then I reread the question, which was hear more of.
Yeah.
So I was like, okay. So we're doing a sufficient amount of history.
Yeah, we're okay with the history stuff. We're okay with the Sims. When we occasionally touch on it, it's about right. Apparently we talk enough about getting people started, which is good. And we don't need to talk anymore. Like how much we talk about long range is about right. So, but people want us to get back to foam and the core of the hobby, really, is what it seems
foam
like.
and balsa, which is what we said we'd be doing. We just haven't.
Yeah, we'll
so
do
it's the two things we said we'd be doing.
Yeah.
Now what you got to do is go around and flip that question around and say, what do you want us to quit talking about in 2023? And watch all those go to 100%.
Comment below if you don't see the answers.
Now that might hurt your feelings, so I don't know.
Well, I won't tell Joe what I hear. I'll put it in a constructive positive Oreo fashion. There'll be good stuff, then there'll be a bunch of junk, and it'll be good stuff, and then we'll end on the good.
There you go.
It'll be all right. I know how to sell it to Joe. It'll be all right. He doesn't have
Ron,
to have his feelings hurt.
Ron, here's your out. If you want to dip out of the conversation before we dive into other segments, because we're about to keep going.
Great timing, because it is late and I am tired. I don't know how you guys do this so late.
A lot of go juice.
Tomorrow morning's gonna suck.
Oh man, that'll be interesting. But yeah, thank you for joining us.
I had no problem.
Man, thanks for coming by.
Have a wonderful night, and we will talk soon.
Absolutely.
Yeah, man.
Talk to you then.
All right, that's it.
All right, bye.
Later.
Well, that was a delight.
Oh yeah.
Nice. Do you want to talk about what we did the last couple weeks, or me? It's really just talking about the Puri. Did you do anything?
No. I had a rainy weekend, and then I had a weekend where my wife was out of town, and I took the opportunity to just straight up veg, and do a whole lot of nothing. Though I believe that was the weekend I got my 3D printer working. I don't remember if I said
so your big
last
thing
episode
was that you got your 3D printer working well.
Yeah,
you were still futzing with stuff.
It's still, the bed is still uneven. I need to.
Whoa. Do you want to get back into this now officially?
Get back into what?
Well, are we officially getting back into the thing, or are we going?
We've been going.
Oh, okay. Well, then let's go. Okay. I told you we'd squirrel a lot this episode.
Yeah. So Ron's not. If we didn't include the audio of Ron leaving, Ron's not with us now. He needed to go. So I've got the 3D printer working, but during the first layer, I was having to adjust some of the leveling while it was printing because I have areas where the nozzle was dragging, even though the CR Touch had fired off. So I need to double check my firmware and make sure the CR Touch is actually doing something. I want the CR Touch to touch more than 9 areas.
Mm-hmm. You wanted to get
And
touching.
we compiled your firmware for your what printer?
The ANET A8. I have an ANET A8 and I have an Ender 3 Pro. So is the ANET
And
A8.
the
I can't even say it, ANET A8.
Yeah. So I got the firmware hopefully compiled correctly and sent that to you, but now you've got to get the Raspberry Pi set up and connected or whatever, the computer to be able to interface with and load because yours has been not brick but just not working since.
No, I wasn't able to get the touch working. I needed to update the firmware and it wasn't working and I couldn't figure it out and I didn't have the patience after about a day of working through it. And I was like, you know what? I need to move on to other things. I'm about to, this isn't going to be productive. So I moved on and that's kind of where it lay, really.
Yeah.
And I think a lot of what was going on now that I know more and know better, I think I just had water absorbed, like it had been out for a year, the filament. So it probably absorbed too much water and it just wasn't, if I'd put in new filament, it probably would have worked pretty well. And I'm tempted to grab some new filament and try it through that first and then go and put it in the Ender.
Make sure that and I'll talk about this when we do our 3D print episode, but make sure your Bolin tube.
It's a direct drive on the ANET A8.
Oh, and that's what okay. Well then, never mind.
Very good.
I know with mine, I got to make sure that tube is absolutely square cut.
Yeah, the Bowden tube.
Bowden, that was it.
The Bowden tube is excellent, but it has a couple small issues. If you can get past them, you're in great shape because it helps move it offloads a lot of the filament weight and stuff off to the side. And it also moves the weight of the printer head and all the derived stuff off of the printer head. So it doesn't have as much inertia moving back and forth, which wiggles the bed and creates sloppier prints. So that's part of why people do the Boyd.
Well, you don't have the extruder motor right there on the print head.
Right. Exactly. Yep. So again, you're saving a bunch of weight with a stepper motor that's not on the print head. So it's on a stationary spot off to the side. So yeah, that's again, a lot of people like the direct drive because it provides a lot more direct control over things going in or out or printing one way or another. But the consequence is that it also has more mass in what's moving back and forth, and it creates more wiggle, especially if your printer isn't as stiff as it could be. So the recommendations for that are basically put it by like a 12-inch concrete step for like outside, like a patio, and put that under. That's what you put your printer on, and that mass will help dampen a lot of the movements. So that's one of the suggestions. I haven't done that, but I put it on something far more solid, and it did dramatically decrease the wiggle. So it helped. Well, cool. So I've seen you've gotten some pretty good prints out of your printer so far. I know it's not like working perfect yet, but it's pretty close.
We getting there.
Yeah.
We all right.
I'm impressed. Certainly better than what
I'm just ready to get this first plane fully printed. Dadgum.
I know, wouldn't that be nice? I know. Look, Flight Test makes it look like, no big deal. You just like hit the button and all of a sudden all the pieces pop out. Like
everybody makes it look like that.
I know. And it's just not the case. It's a lot more fiddling and a lot more effort. But when it does start working, usually the prints go pretty effortlessly. Like the fact that I was able to print the tank, the RC tank, and there's a lot of big prints that went for days. And I printed those solid and I didn't have a hiccup. It went well. So it's possible it could happen. I know with the 3D printed planes and the wings, they are tall vase-like structures that if the print nozzle hits the top of the build, it can easily create enough torque to lift the whole thing off the plate, and then your build's done. And which would happen right at the very end of your build, which is so frustrating.
It is.
But it's part of it.
And one of the things, and this was something I was planning on talking about during the 3D print episode, but one of the things you can do to help mitigate that is a brim.
Yeah. Create a better surface, more surface to adhere with.
Right. I like the idea of printing without the brim, but now that I've had several pieces get knocked off mid-print, I now understand why you print with a brim.
You can even print
that makes a lot of sense.
Even with a raft, that's another possibility too. And that creates a solid build adhesion surface. And you can knock it off later. It gives you an extra, depending on the size of the print, like a half hour to an hour, if it's big.
Yeah.
But if you know you're getting a solid product at the end without a failure, the hour is worth it. Because again, you just hit it and you go to work or whatever it is, and you come back and the part's done. So it's not like you really sweat out that extra hour. So just a little bit more filament. So nice.
What did you get into?
I got into trouble. Let's see. I was working. I focused on two big things. I worked on my Puri, getting that up and running, and actually getting the motor mounted. And I switched gears. I had moved the Eco 2 motor that runs off a 6-cell, realizing I didn't have a small enough 6-cell to balance it out properly, but I did have a 3-cell that was like a 1500 milliamp battery. I'm like, that'll balance it. So I'm like, well, 3-cell, that Eco doesn't really give a lot of push. And that might be part of what was wrong with my Prandtl, trying to take off at Flight Fest. It was barely at the edge of enough thrust. But if I had put an F-Pack motor, it would have a lot of thrust. And I probably would have done better that way. So I ended up actually putting an F-Pack motor on the Puri, and it had a lot of go. I was like, nice, okay. So I got it all set up, and I took it out to the field with my son. And I asked him, I said, would you mind, filming this? This is a brand new plane. I kind of want to see if we can't, capture it, because I think it might be pretty good. So he said, no, nice. He goes, I can't wait to see it out. So we did that. And I got the 7 running. And then I ended up, for whatever reason, the collet is a little chewed up and it couldn't grip the shaft on the motor. And every time I really gunned it to get it moving, the prop and the collet would come flying off the front of the motor. So I was like, okay, well, the 7's not taking off today. But I grabbed the Puri, I got it going. It was like a no wind day, beautiful, somewhat overcast, which means the bottom of it looked like it blended into the sky. And then when it turned sideways, it's basically a sliver, which is really hard to see. But the top was colorful. And when you went into, the top or bottom view where you could really see it, it was easy to see. And so I released it and it came out of my hands really well at like maybe 50% throttle, if that. And I brought it back to about 30, maybe 35. And it just cruised around, just pleased as punch. I had to do some trimming to make sure that it was flying level and I started to speed it up and I just went around. It's really agile. So it was doing rolls and loops, just real easy, but it was super maneuverable. It was gentle to fly when you brought the throttle back, but it could go pretty fast because it's a really nice airfoil, pretty thin profile. And all the parts kind of tuck in pretty well. So there's not a whole lot hanging out. I had the ESC kind of hanging out the bottom. The bottom of the battery was flush with the bottom of the plane. So again, it was pretty straightforward. I didn't have an AFPV on it because I hadn't, and that was part of what I was trying to do was set something up for later. But I want to see how it flew. And so I started going pretty well and I'm like, okay, let me go a little bit faster, maybe about 60 or 70% throttle. And I was like, nice. This flies really well. It goes pretty fast. Again, really agile. So be careful when you make maneuvers. And it's one of those like, build it strong in the spar because it's going to do some stuff. And if it's not ready, you might bust the plane, right? It's like, okay. So like, nice. So then I started going, I just want to do some fast. And I was doing a couple low passes. I've got a good video on it. And then I start going, okay, let's see how fast this goes. Because I'm not going to do anything crazy. I'm just going to do fast runs. Maybe some gentle turns and some big wide loops, but just go. So I opened it up and I did a couple passes and it went well. And then the motor dislodged, the whole motor mount pulled up. And I guess maybe I hadn't glued that part down as thoroughly as I thought I had when I closed the sandwich. You know what I mean?
Uh-huh.
And so peanut butter and jelly weren't sticking together. And it turns out, so as it came up, it cracked a couple spins into the plane and cut 2 grooves. I know this is after the fact. The motor went flying up, but as it did, I think the plane tipped down and the motor came, I don't know if it came underneath it, and pushed the plane from underside, which means it was basically cracking open from the bottom. And there wasn't a lot of like good structure. Like I didn't put tape across the top, which would have been smart. That would have been good reinforcing. Or any tape along the bottom across it. I put it along the seam and that was it.
Right.
And there was a kind of a gap. So I kind of filled it with foam and some glue. And it wasn't the strongest, right? And I think there was a small gap in the spar. That's never good. I'm like, we'll be okay. There's tape and there's glue and we're good. Well, needless to say, having that motor thrust from the bottom of basically a big giant flat plate cracked that open across the top. And then literally the motor just kept going and it cut one of its leads and it pulled out completely from the ESC. The battery was in one half. The receiver was in the other. All the wires were gone and the ESC was in place still. And the 2 wing halves fluttered down like little gentle leaves coming down to the ground. And the motor just went, it just bonk.
It just noped out.
Yep, like a missile trajectory. I was like, oh. I'm like,
oh,
I was like, that's such a good flyer too. I was looking forward to coming back with this one. I just want to see how fast she goes. And she goes really fast. So I'm definitely going to pull out, see if I can't grab the rest, finish up that build, see if I can build another one or repair what I've got. That shouldn't be too hard. One of the guys suggested that I do kind of a post-action report and then a rebuild. And I think that would be a pretty fun video to do. So, but yeah, so I was doing that. And then I looked at, I've got a bunch of these parts to different FPV systems. And I had a Foxier camera that I wanted to use. And then I had this transmitter. And then of course I've got the video aerial systems antennas that I wanted to pair with a video aerial system antennas for my FPV goggles. And I was like, nice. And I'm mentioning them specifically because we met them at Flight Fest. And he's like, just use these. It'll be better. And we've got other people who are swearing like they're way better than the average Joe antennas, right? So I was like, I got to try these. I've got to get something going and actually try these so I can at least check it out. And so I'm like, but I never like the video transmitter has like 6 wires coming off of it. The camera, no, it's 5. The camera has 3. Some of them are power, but it doesn't actually go to the camera. And I'm looking at like, these don't add up. There's wires that don't do stuff. And it's not labeled at all. What the heck, man? How do you wire this thing up so I can just plug it in and be done? Like I've got leads that go to the battery leads and all that stuff. And I'm like, let me look on the internet. And I looked up a video from Andrew Newton. He's a guy down in Australia. And he puts on these videos much kind of like John Woodfield. So they're great beginner videos. They're great how-tos. They're great. Like, hey, look at this plane that flies pretty good. Like, let me show you what I do. And so he has this little, like, this is how I build my FPV rigs. Here's your standard VTX. Here's your standard camera. Take a Y connector and a couple extra like ends. And here's what we're going to solder here, here, and you can connect all these and disconnect them. And you can put new cameras on. It'll be real easy. You can put new VTXs on. It'll be real easy. And you can connect them to the battery. And that power does the whole thing. And you just don't have to worry about it. You just put these things in as you build them. Just clip these wires off, make the connector, solder these wires, make the connector, and then you're good. And just anytime you get a new one, just do this and you're set. I'm like, oh, finally, somebody explains it in English, And so, and then he's like, take a pipe, like a little 3/2-inch or 3/4-inch pipe, and PVC, and you just cut it down about 1 inch wide. You snip it, and then you use a little heat gun and just open it and flatten it up and make a little L bracket. And you just, tape the VTX on the back with a little bit of a zip tie, and then put the camera on the front with a little bit of strapping tape and a bunch of Velcro on the bottom, and you put it on any plane you want. I was like, that's all I need. That's what I've been needing for years. So now I've got one. So I've got to find out where I put. I always do this. I buy a big pack of zip ties and I misplace them almost immediately. So I need to find where I put
Sounds
my zip
about
ties.
right.
Yeah, that's about right. So I've got the tape over here. I'm going to find the zip tie, and I'm going to put the VTX on the back. I'm going to, get the camera down, and I found all my Velcro. I found more than all my Velcro. I found like all the ones I was looking for. Those, you remember when you came up? I was like, "Where's all my Velcro?" I literally found all of it. So I got plenty now.
I'm happy for you.
Yeah. So now I'm going to put that on a plane, and I can start getting some FPV footage. So I'm really excited to give that some tests and start doing some kind of feedback from what my experience is on that. So
Right.
yeah. So it was like two things, but they're pretty awesome. I'm looking forward to that. The big plane is ready to go back out again. Now that I've got the FPV camera, I should be able to get that in the air and actually fly the FPV. That's what I've been looking forward to for weeks. So I'm looking forward to, hopefully I can get this done in the next couple of weeks, although I am gone for a week for business, but I'll be back on the weekend, so I might be able to get something taken care of then. So yeah, that's what we've been up to. And of course, we both got Electra Streaks. Build kits. So yeah.
Thank you for that, by the way.
Yeah, you're welcome. Happy Leatherversary. I guess a Balsaversary? I don't know. I don't know what you call it.
Why you gotta make it weird?
Because that's all I got. All right. So let's see. Podcast stats for this past year. We had over 46 hours of content that we produced.
Just over 46.
So you just got to ask yourself, what is those 46 hours of entertainment worth? I don't know. If you liked it, share it with people you know. If you thought it was worth a couple bucks of your money every so often, join our Patreons. Help us keep this going if you want. If we get enough money, we'll start doing some ridiculous projects, I'm sure. Like in the order of getting Electra Streak kits or that kind of thing that we just do as a podcast and share with you as we do it. So we want to thank, and over the last year, we have had an 80% listener growth as far as we can tell, more or less.
And it's estimated because we don't keep track, and we don't keep a physical copy or notes of. We were just thinking back to where we thought some numbers were approximately a year ago. So for those who are newer to listening, welcome. We're glad you joined. For those who have shared us with our friends, thank you very much.
Yeah, we really appreciate it. All I can say is keep doing it if you can. Turn us on to whoever you think might be interested. And again, it really gives us a lot of, I don't even know how to put it, a lot of energy to keep going forward and bring you our new adventures and kind of bring you with us into these other territories that we are exploring.
Well, it brings us joy knowing that folks are listening, finding value in it, which is always a surprise.
No.
It blows my mind. You and I just sit here blowing it for a while, and people find it enjoyable. So
yeah. Hopefully I always hope that this either helps you get into the hobby with less pain, or it keeps you in the hobby when you hit that snag that's just really frustrating. You're like, I don't know. And then you hopefully hear us and go like, let me give it another try and keep at it. Because and it's been bringing me a lot of joy. It's been bringing me a lot of pain and anguish on the way too. But the joy seems to outweigh it every time. So I'm hoping you're having a better experience, if not a similar experience. So good. So what about, what were your favorite moments this last? I don't think we covered it last time.
I'm not sure. Honestly, probably when we had Ron and Tom on.
Yeah.
That was a really enjoyable time. be able to just hang and chat with those guys.
Yeah. Yeah, it was a lot
both
of fun.
both of them are just really good people.
Yeah. Yeah. Every time I'm like, I don't know why I don't talk to Tom more. I don't understand it.
I thought you were going to call him.
Well, I keep not finding his number. I really got to write that down. I just call him. Anyway, I'll do that. It's fine. I got him on the Discord now. We're at least a little closer. Okay. And then for me, it was talking to John Woodfield. I don't know. He just, I wasn't sure quite what to expect. You know what I mean? And just talking to him, I was like, yeah, I could see spending an entire day just on the slope with him, just relaxing and laughing and having a good time talking about, planes and just watching the world go by with a plane in the air,
Yeah.
It just, I don't know, kind of gave me that feeling like his videos give me. That's pretty cool.
He was very calm and relaxing to listen to.
Yeah. So yeah, it was a lot of fun to do that. And I was a little geeking out. I'm not gonna lie.
More than a little.
Well, yeah. I got a geek out guest I'm hoping for this coming year, but let's get on to that. Let's talk about what do we want to do with the podcast this coming year? Are we do we want to change the format maybe? Do we want to what do we want to do? So we've got the top things were foam, balsa, and community. Right? Get involved with the community more. And I think to those ends, we talked about possibly getting out to more, at least getting to events. Definitely getting a Flight Fest. We talked about Joe and all being so close that I think one of us is at least going to try to get there. Make an honest, deliberate effort there. I'm going to try not to blow off the local fly-in when we have them and maybe do a little bit to record some things. And I know the lady I've been seeing mentioned something about going to an air show soon. And I'll send you the information when I learn about it, like more details. But yeah, getting out to an air show, like a real air show and bringing the kids. I'm really looking forward to doing something like that. It was like May or something like that.
Sounds like a good time.
Yeah. Yeah, definitely. Well, another thing are contests in the community. And maybe talking more about those, like, for example, Top Gun, where people make like ridiculously accurate RC models. There's a whole thing. Maybe getting somebody on board to talk to us about what that is and what it means to be a winner of that. Let's see, talk about gliding contests, the actual official contests for gliding, because they're pretty detailed. And it seems like it's a lot of fun. It's certainly a different way to do something that I guess a lot of people look at it as like, oh, it's really pretty easy. And it is to go gliding and enjoy it and relax and enjoy. But like the contests bring kind of a different element of skill and, energy management and things like that, where you're starting to pay attention more. Getting to talk to somebody who's like a pylon racer. Like I know Red said he was, obviously he's building a full scale pylon racer basically, in his garage, which is incredible. But yeah,
I need to check on that and see how it's going.
Oh, it's going, dude. He's pulling the stuff out of the molds.
Oh, really?
The molds are done. He's pulling the pieces out, starting to put the aircraft together, like the actual shell. Admittedly, there's a lot that goes past that. There's a lot to do, even though it looks like a pretty complete airplane. There's still more to put in there, but he's come along great. You should really take a look. And I know we're going to have like a Noob Wonder fly-in at Flight Fest. We got the plane ready, which I still haven't talked to Dan to give him the final direction so we can release that to everybody. So, but, we'll see about getting that. I'll make it an effort this coming week. That should be relatively easy to do from Boise, where I'm going to be this next week. I should be able to communicate with him and get that done.
Okay.
So I'll see about doing that. Also, maybe getting out to a museum. We mentioned that last time in passing. It's definitely still been on my list. So I'd like to do that. Kind of have that as part of the podcast. Maybe reach out to a museum and have somebody talk to us about what it takes to either run one or what does it take to get airplanes in a museum. I don't know. I have never known what it would take, but That'd be pretty cool to learn, I think.
Yeah.
You're kind of getting maybe a more behind the scenes. If you're interested in aviation, you've probably been to one museum, and it would be nice to talk to people or get a tour, sort of, and then especially one where there's a virtual tour, like online. So that way, if you're listening to the podcast, maybe you can kind of follow along in the virtual tour. That'd be pretty neat. Something like that. What else, Joe? Do you think there's anything else in the podcast, like a community? Like obviously we do build events, right? What we do.
Mm-hmm.
Keep those build events going. So the build nights, we talked about making those a little bit further out.
I still like the idea of doing a I don't want to say a live recording, because we've always, like, obviously we're sitting here, but doing an episode, like we've opened this channel up now where folks can pop in and listen while but I don't know, maybe announce, hey, this is what we're recording, like we were talking about doing for like episode 50, and just never returned to the idea of making a big announcement about, here's an episode and we're going to be sitting down recording on this night, this time, and feel free to pop in and ask questions.
Maybe we can do that for episode 70.
It's 2 episodes from now.
Yeah. Maybe. And we basically just say, we're going to record episode 70. We'd love to have listeners come in and talk to us. We will set aside a segment, X amount of minutes in, or, about a half hour in. You're welcome to listen to the beginning. We'll open it up or whatnot. We'll figure that out. But yeah, I think that's a good idea. If it's not 70, maybe we'll figure it out later in the year. But I'm thinking if we try it now, when we come to a big milestone, it'll be exciting. And we'll have it ready.
Well, let's keep our thoughts on that, and we'll know something a little more soon.
I know you've got more experience at doing stuff like that, though. So I'll leave that.
I mean, honestly, all we're going to do is just let people join this channel and have the chat that they can, type in.
Yeah.
I don't think we're necessarily worried about unmuting people.
Okay. Yeah, that would still work, but letting them know how to do it, ahead of time would be good.
Yeah, from a logistics standpoint, because even bringing Craig in here and having him record, just having all the, I mean, that's, depending on how many people come out, it's just that many more lines of audio to keep track of, so.
All right. No, I'm with you.
In other words, I'm lazy.
I wasn't going to say anything about that, Joe.
Well, I appreciate that.
Yeah.
I just try to speak the truth as much as I can.
That's part of what I like about you. All right. So let's see. Foam board. What will we do this coming year with foam board other than continue what we've been doing and highlighting the really interesting foam planes that we find along the way? We'll take you on our balsa journey as we go. I'm thinking I'm worried I'm going to get started. Oh, I told you I did get a balsa plane officially.
Really?
Well, we talked about it, but I don't think did we talk about me ordering a de Havilland Vampire from Hobby King? The hard way?
The hard way?
Yeah, in pieces. So it could actually get here without spending $150 on shipping.
I think we did off air, but yeah.
All right. So I ended up, I was looking at Hobby King, and they're like the only one who seems to sell a de Havilland Vampire. And everybody who flies one thinks it's great. I'm going to go through real quick. I looked at buying one. It was like reasonably priced, $160, I think it's something, what it was. But basically, they want that much again. I think it's $170. They want that much again, or $130 or $40 to basically ship it to you from Hong Kong. So I'm like, what the heck? That's a $300 plane, definitely. Like, that doesn't make sense. You price out all the individual parts, like $100, or it's like $80 or something like that. And then you add to that an $80 motor system, just an EDF, but you can get some pretty cool one. Like, I don't get it. Like, it can come to me for free. From Hobby King, and then Amazon, I've got the Prime, so that's not going to cost me any extra for shipping. I said, for a little bit more, I can actually get a plane and then some. I just had to spend enough in Hobby King. And so I ended up buying another, I had to spend $200 total. So I think I bought like $100 worth of Avalon Vampire, $120 worth of Vampire. I spent another $100 worth of Airplane, and I bought like a Balsa stick, ugly stick.
Okay.
Because I figured that's a great flyer. Everybody loves it. So it's in the box in the back. I'm just trying to, in the corner there, that Joe might be able to see right over there.
I see the box, yeah.
But I haven't opened it up because I know if I do, I want to fiddle with it. And right now I don't have the space. So I'm going to just leave well enough alone for the moment. But I realized I'm like, I've got the motor system for that. So yeah, that's not going to cost me any extra other than to just get it here. So yeah, so there's a balsa plane technically there. So we'll talk about what it means to buy a almost ready to fly balsa kit and get that ready. And then obviously we're going to build an Electra Streak when we get our chances. And I have a feeling I've got other things I'll be working on too. I've got the Prandtl D balsa kit that's literally right in front of me behind the computer. It's itty bitty, probably about 18-inch wingspan, maybe 20.
Okay.
Yeah, so there's a bunch of balsa projects in the wings for me, and I know you've got the one, so that'll be good. And then I think this.
Yeah, I just got to figure out where I want to get balsa from.
What are you talking about? He gave you the shirt kit. That's most of it. And that guy gave you a bunch of strips.
I thought that would. I gotta look at it again. I thought it was jigs. Those strips are gone.
No. Oh, are they? Oh, I thought you.
Yeah.
Oh, that's right. Yeah, I'm sorry. Let's not bring that up. No, I think he cut out all the formers. You just might need to get a sheet balsa.
Okay, I thought it was just like jig things, but
No,
I have to look at it.
No, it's more than that. I think it's the ribs as well as the jig, and then probably the fuselage pieces, and it may just be a flat piece of balsa that you need to cut into strips that you need to do stuff with. You'll have to take
figure it out.
Yeah. Well, so will I, because I'll be looking through it and doing the same thing. I said it's pretty basic. There's a bunch of work you're going to have to do. We both will, but all the hard to cut things are done. Yeah, I'm looking forward to seeing what we do with that. What about guests? Do you have any guests that you love to see this year that you want to have come on?
I would not mind getting Red back on sometime if he wanted to join us.
Oh yeah.
Red's always a joy to have with us.
Right.
I'm looking forward to Flight Fest and Jesse joining us again.
Oh yeah. Yeah, me too.
Mm-hmm.
I forgot that's a done deal already.
Yeah.
Nice.
Yeah, that was a done deal for Jesse as soon as he got back home last year.
That was so cool. I'm like, well, yeah. I'm so excited. I'm hoping we get a little bit more time to get to hang together, because last time he got basically a free trip to come in a little bit late. So
yeah,
that was so cool.
Which worked out well for him.
Yeah, it did, man. I'm happy for that. I hope something works out well for him again. I mean, as much I want to see him, so hang out.
I wonder if Mike and Pat from Flight Test Community Cast are going to be able to make it this year.
I don't know. We'll have to reach out to them and see what they're doing. And that's the thing is, I think Terry Dunn goes almost every year. I just don't know where he's at to be able to go visit him. Yeah, we'll have to reach out to each one of those guys and say, like, dude, where are you guys going to be? I would like to come.
Well, how about you? Because I see you got a small list of, and I'm fairly certain we won't get through all of those this year. But go ahead.
Well, look, this is the hope list, right? Alex Grieve, who's known as IB Crazy, and he's the guy who's the brains behind Video Aerial Systems. He makes radio system antennas for the most part, and everybody says that they're just some of the top notch. And he works very hard to fight the industry that the Chinese basically steal all their stuff and make it super cheap and undercut most people trying to do this stuff. So he has to fight that every time. So he's got a system that seems to work, and because he's got a technology that he seems to understand this stuff better than most. So I want to have him come on and be able to talk to us about what it is, like how important are some of the minute details. And because he's got some pretty interesting stories, and he definitely has a breadth of knowledge about a subject we need help with understanding for sure. And talk to him about, like, why some of the systems that he has, why they set up the way they are. I'm sure he can only get into so much detail, but helping us understand how radio waves propagate, and why, what he's got tends to be more functional than the standard stuff, right? The standard junk that people kind of put, like, oh, it'll work. And it does, but it could be better. And his stuff proves that.
Right.
At least according to most people I've talked to. I'll hopefully find out firsthand, because I got a number of different kinds of antennas that I'll be kind of checking out. So we'll see. I'm not going to do a super exhaustive test or anything, but I'll definitely give you my opinions about what I'm finding out. Either way, I want to get him on and kind of pick his brain about the radio systems and radio waves and how everything works. It would be one of my dreams to get, if everybody can suffer through one more Prandtl episode. and then some. I mean, but talk to him talk to Albion Bowers, who's the NASA project engineer that worked with Red to do the Prandtl project, among many other things. He's done more than this, but this is what I know him for. This is what I consider him to be famous for, even though I know he's done more. He's actually just got his name engraved in, oh shoot, now I can't, but it's a Smithsonian Aeronautical Museum, I think. His name is on a plaque, which is pretty awesome. Big honor. I'd love to talk to, and we've talked about it so many times, talk to my field president, the AMA field that I belong to, talk to the president, Kent Porter, or unless he steps down and gets a new president, but talk to one of those guys about what it means to belong to a field, what AMA brings to the local field guys. And especially as these changes, the changes in the times and what we're allowed to do and not to do, and
his thoughts on whether he'll stay AMA,
right,
or if they'll choose. Like, they'll probably still stay AMA, but will they maybe fly under a different CBO?
Yeah, right, exactly. Talking to him about that. I know. I think it's the insurance that allows a lot of fields to basically lease easily with current landowners. So, I mean, probably they might fly under different CBO rules, but may require AMA membership for the insurance stuff, I think. We'll see. Yeah, I'm curious to see where he lands. Honestly, I haven't been to a field meeting in longer than I should, because I felt like I took a hiatus for 4 months. Anyway, talk to our friend Matthew Dupree over at Bushhawk RC. He started a new podcast. Love to talk to him. With that, also, we were talking the other day. We have another one of our friends, Spitfire 76, who looks like he's going to start something on 3D printing planes. And when he kind of gets rolling with that, like to kind of bring him on and talk to him again, continue the kind of crossover thing.
You know what? I hope he does it.
Yeah, I hope so too. So, Richard, if you're listening, go to it, man. We support you fully, man. We'd love to, especially as we go forward into printing planes, definitely want to pick your brain and see what you can help everybody learn so they could get into that part of the hobby and enjoy it.
Absolutely.
Oh my God, I can't spell.
Well, I knew that. What are you trying to? Oh, yeah, you definitely can't spell.
Oh my God, it's bad. I'm having to look around my mic. It's anyway. It's terrible. Anyway, and if not him, or maybe with him, bring on somebody like the guys who started Eclipsin, or was it RC Aero Ventures, I think, or 3D Aeroprint or something like that. I can't remember the name of the companies. Yeah. 3D Aero Ventures is who I'm thinking. Bring one of those guys on, have them talk about the design process for making a 3D plane. There's a couple flight test members who, not flight test the company, but one of the forum members who put together a couple that are pretty good. People have flown it. They looks like the Goblin. but it's 3D printed.
Okay.
So, and I think that's freely available. Dale, Local Fiend, I think is what he goes by. Maybe see if we can bring him on. Maybe talk to him about his process. And then maybe somebody like I'll call it like an adjacent podcast on aviation or something like that, like a 3D printer podcast guy. Have them come on and talk to us. Talk to some of maybe the heli guys. Bring a fighter pilot podcast is one our listeners turned me on to, and maybe bring that guy on who's a legit fighter pilot and have him talk to us about, his podcast and, his experiences as a fighter pilot. I don't know. And then the other thing is like, who else? I mean, who do you guys want us to talk to? Who out there would you love to hear us have a conversation with? We'd love to know. Where you can reach me, you can send it to me if you want to at matthew@aviationrcnoob.com. Or if you want to send it to Joe, you can send it to joe@aviationrcnoob.com. Or you can send it to both of us at aviationrcnoob@gmail.com.
Look at you.
I know. It's like I've done this for 3 years.
Yeah.
But no, seriously, give us some feedback. Let us know what you're thinking. Other than that, I mean, I think that covers kind of what we aim to do. I don't know that we should be changing our format a whole lot, other than we really do need to get on that list of which airplanes we've done history-wise so far. I know there's an aviation history podcast that would be fun to talk to that guy, because he's really covered a whole litany of planes. And so, just talking to some different people about what they do that's related to what we do, or inspires us to do what we do with our RC aircraft. What's your thoughts? Reach out, let us know.
Well, pretty much that we talked about what we talked about last year and how we stacked up and set some goals for this coming year. Had a surprise visit by Ron. That was awesome.
Yeah, surprise. Hi, Ron.
Was there anything else we really need to talk about this episode?
I think we need to do it. I think that both of us hesitate to want to do it. But what are our plane predictions for the coming year?
Oh.
How can we embarrass ourselves next year?
Oh, okay. Well, I need to get to 7 in the air.
Yes, you do.
I need to finish the Flurkin.
Yes, you do.
I would like to build multiple of these kits from last year's Flight Fest.
Oh, yeah.
That I have. I want to build a... I've got the... Oh, God. Jetworks RC.
Yes.
The Depron F-20, F-16, I think.
Yes.
And then I've got the Model B, the Model V, and then now this
You're making a
Go
list.
1 of the 3D printers.
Wow.
The 3D printed planes.
So what do you see as your biggest hurdle this year?
Keeping the 3D printer running.
You think, huh?
Yeah.
Okay.
You know, they're trying to make notes.
I was gonna, but you listed a lot of stuff.
Wow. Well,
I'm impressed. I'm bored.
I know I won't get through it all.
And what's your prediction on how much of that do you think you're going to get through?
At least 10%.
Setting the bar high.
Hey, that's how I roll.
That's my buddy.
That's how I roll.
Nice. Okay, so we just talked to Ron, and the Ford Trimotor is on my list. The Leprechaun is about to go in the air, so I'm going to finally field test the design ideas that were the tests for the Ford Trimotor, and it's pure build out of foam, or I call it pure but not entirely with a Ford.
Okay.
If that goes successful, Ford Tri-Motor's on the list. That's going to get done this year. I want to get it done before Flight Fest.
That'd be pretty cool.
I definitely have to get it done before Ron. Now, he says that's easy because they'll be lucky if they get it done by the end of the year.
Mm-hmm.
And knowing their pace, that sounds about right. I think if Tom were in charge, I'd give it done a little bit faster. I'm not sure.
Well, now they got the Electro Streak to work on, too.
Well, look, we all know that the squirrels come first and the projects come last. So
that's why nothing ever gets done.
Oh, I know, right? So I'm going to boldly put on back again for an encore performance of my predictions. I'm going to put on the Spruce Goose again. I need to get that done. That has to get done.
Is that thing still wired up?
Yeah, man. I'm telling you, it's really ready to go. I need to just take time and roll through troubleshooting it.
Just do it.
Do it, man.
Don't let your dreams be dreams. Just
you need to play that every time. I'm like, I don't know what I should do. You're like, don't let your dreams be dreams, man. Just
don't let your dreams be dreams.
All right. So my 3 planes, I think I was going to boldly say, let's put the Spruce Goose back on that list. I think the Ford Tri-Motor is on there. That's more of a community deal. And then I'm going to say that Manta plane that Tim and I talked about.
Plane?
Yeah, the big giant wing that looks like a manta ray.
Okay.
That Tim and I were going to put together so that we'd have something massive for Flight Fest. That's not apparently too hard to do with the builds I've got are all pretty darn big.
Mm-hmm.
Oh, I don't seem to build small anymore. Anyway, I would also love this coming year to reignite the interest that my kids had a little bit of for flying and getting out to the flight field and actually flying planes on their own. I kept telling my son, I'm like, I really want you guys to fly because I have combat systems. So we can shoot each other out of the sky with our airplanes. This should be a lot of fun. I said, I'm really almost there with some of the components. And I said, if you can fly by the time I've got these components set and ready and tested, which should be soon, and I think that's where you're at too. I said, we can have a lot of fun. And he's like, oh, that would be a lot of fun. So he's been taking, what is it, Roblox? He went to the flight simulator in Roblox, and he really enjoyed that. Well, as a matter of fact, all 3 of us were online playing at one time, which was weird, but it was, they were having fun.
Hey, daddy son time.
Yeah, it was great daddy son time. And then I pulled out the RC Sims. That was the other thing I was doing. My girlfriend was interested, and I wanted to make sure I had Sims ready. So I'm like, let me go through these. So I did, and I got both of them working, which was actually really good. And I figured out what was going on with the one connection. And so now it's ready to go no matter what simulator I want to fly. So that's, each of them has their perks. Some of them have more sights. Some of them have more planes you can kind of fly from the cockpit.
Right.
But either way, they were good. And she's actually doing pretty good. She improved from, I don't know what direction I'm turning and crashing into the ground almost immediately to basically coming around, not quite being able to land, but at least being able to do a rough circuit. So it's getting better and better. So I think next time we get together and do some of that, she might get closer and closer.
Nice.
Yeah, so that's good. So with any luck, we'll be able to get out and fly some. I was going to have her do some of the easy builds, get one of those planes out and let her just kind of cruise around the sky with that, because they take,
right.
I mean, it's easy to fly them and it's hard to destroy them. So they're a good beginner plane. Nice. All right. Now all I can think of is Shia LaBeouf. Jeez, man. Oh, thank you so much for that.
You're welcome.
Yeah, and with that, why don't we give our poor listeners a reprieve from this squirrel session? We'll come at you next week with a regular deal.
In 2 weeks.
In 2 weeks, yep. We have build nights coming up like at least every weekend as I go through Buildery. I'm going to be building often. This Friday, I apologize to those who were planning on it. I can't make it tomorrow. I've got so much going on in prep for this trip that I didn't expect I'd be able to take.
Do we have a build party planned for tomorrow?
I think so. I don't know. We've got a couple listeners who are like, are we doing that build party tomorrow? And I was like, I don't remember. Oops. So what I might do is I'll tell them that I'll probably do something Saturday afternoon, which is where I have a little bit of time to do that. And I'll just, that way I can get something started and everybody can kind of build a little bit. I'll announce that today on our Discord. If you haven't, look in the show notes, come join our Discord, join our family over there, talk some planes, build some stuff, share what you're doing, and get support and encouragement if you need it. If not, lend some out for those who do. And we'd love to have you come out and say, hey, hope you're listening, hope you're enjoying. Thanks for 3 amazing years so far. We hope to continue to make it even better. You ready to say goodnight, Joe?
I mean, you've pretty much done the outro, so you done?
Yeah. How about you? I figured you'd chime in. Come on.
Yeah, no, you had it. So
you're getting all upset. Maybe that's the format change. I do the outros.
Oh no.
Oh. Well, then I do the intros. Well, which do you want to hear? Those. What do you want us to change up, listeners?
Let us know in the comments. But guys, as always, thank you for tuning in and listening. And we will catch y'all next time.
See you later.